everyone. I'm going to go over a couple of hand techniques that we have in Wha too. So several of these are new. They're pretty cool too. So I can't wait to help you get started with them. The first one is called a low X block. So this one is typically done in a front stance and it will be in your form. And it's going to start with both hands tucked in like this. You want them just in the same position as if they were both about to punch, but they're going to come down this way. So they're actually making kind of a punching motion and ending up in an X. That's why it's called a low X block. Okay? So they're both going at the same time. We want to make sure that they pretty much punch across each other right into our ending position. So there's no adjusting once we get down there. It's just boom, there we are. Okay? This will take a little bit of practice to get it so your hands are ending in the proper position. But what we want is the leg that's in front. That hand is going to be on the top. That's actually true for any time that you have a block or even a chamber for a block where your hands are going to be crossed. It's always the leg that's out or the direction that you're going. That one is on the top. So the top is there. Another little detail I want to draw your attention to is you see where my arms are crossed? A lot of times when people begin doing a low X block, they'll go very straight and they'll tend to have their hands crossed close together, even like this, where their wrists are kind of stacked on top of each other. Now, I invite you to actually try that a little bit. Try experimenting with that and just feel if that feels strong to you or not when your wrists are kind of right on top of each other. I know for me, I noticed that they kind of want to slip and slide around on each other. And I imagine if something hard was hitting into me and my joints, my wrist joints, that little knobby part that sticks out on each side of them, maybe I just have bony wrists, but for me, they kind of like bang together and it feels very unpleasant. So the way that we actually use this block is a little higher up on our arm. So we're making this kind of like little triangle on the bottom. That's actually the part that's doing the block. And what it is basically like a low block, but it's reinforced, so you're using two hands for it. I've actually used this in real life. It was really cool when I realized that this was actually a useful move, because to me it just seemed like, oh, something that looks cool, but you wouldn't actually use it. I find myself using this sometimes in sparring if I'm going up against someone who is a lot bigger or heavier than myself, or just like kicks too hard. I use that low X block and just gives me a little bit of extra strength, and it tends to hurt my arms a lot less than if I tried to knock their foot away with one hand. The other cool thing that's different than a regular low block, so a low block, you're sweeping your arm across, so you're basically trying to push their leg off to the side. The low X block, you're stopping it right where it's at, so you're just stopping it from coming up far enough. I think that's the reason it's a little bit more comfortable sometimes than a low block that goes out to the side. You do have to catch it somewhat close to the ground for that one to work, but I actually think it works really well, especially if somebody's coming up for a front kick, sometimes like a crescent or X kick or a twist kick, something like that comes kind of straight through the middle. You might even be able to do it with a round kick depending on how the person comes up. But that one's pretty cool, so that's in your form, but it's also something that's useful for sparring. So next move is a twin upset punch. A twin technique is when both hands do the same move at the same time. An upset technique is an upside down technique. So a twin upset punch. Okay, well, twin means that we're going to be using two hands at the same time doing the same thing. And an upset means upside down, and of course we know what a punch is. So in order to do an upside down punch, an upset punch, our hands are going to start upside down, right back at our ribs, same position that they normally would for a punch, and they're going to do the same motion as a normal punch. They're just, when they rotate, then they're going to end up facing upward. Okay, so we're starting nice and tight with our elbows tucked in. We don't want to end up with chicken arms out here. So elbows right tight into your body, and coming out and forward with your hands. So one thing that we want to be careful of with this one is that we go nice and straight. We could end up kind of like scooping our arms up. We see a lot of twin upset punches that are like that. but this one actually should go nice and straight. We're still doing a punch. This is another one that's kind of cool in sparring. Sometimes you'll find an opportunity. So sometimes it can be a little hard to punch down low, but that's oftentimes where we have an opening. So our hands are up like this. There's kind of this little triangle space underneath there. And this is sometimes the very best place to put a punch because it's hard for someone to move their elbows in there and stop you from getting it. Or they don't even realize that they're open right there. But at the same time, it can be tricky to get our hand in there. But if we turn it over, sometimes it's really nice to get into that low space. So this is actually, don't use the twin upset punch for your sparring, but that upset punch, just a single hand, that one's also good for your sparring. And it happens to be one. Okay. The third technique that we're going to work on is an upward elbow strike. An upward elbow strike goes upward. You're going to use your elbow. So we're also going to do a reverse upward elbow strike, which means that we're going to just do it from the back side of our body. So an upward elbow strike is coming up under the person's chin. We're just going to focus that front hand out. This one starts just like a regular punch, but instead of our hand coming out, our elbow is going to flip upward. So we're striking with the flat part right here, okay? Just like all elbow strikes, we're not really hitting with this pointy part. We're hitting with the top of our forearm right there. So again, that's focus and upward elbow strike. Show you on the other side, focus. This hand's tucked in at our rib cage, upward elbow strike. One thing to make this one look clean and really nice is, let me show you a little side view here. We just want to make sure that when we bring our arm up, that we bring it all the way up with a nice straight wrist here. A lot of times, upward elbow strikes end up being like kind of weird with the wrist pops like that. I don't know that it really has any effect on how useful your elbow strike would be, but when we're doing a form, we want it to look nice, and it just looks a lot more finished if we have a nice straight line down our wrist. All right. Number 4, this is the last one that I'm going to be showing you in this video. That's a brand new hand technique at this level, and that is a ridge hand block. So we know a ridge hand strike. We use the thumb side of the hand, but with the thumb tucked in. So we're going to do that same hand position with our thumb kind of tucked across towards the base of our pinky finger. And since it's a block, it's going to come from the bottom. We've got this one facing down. The other one's going to be just like a fist on top. And it's going to come up and out, just like an inner forearm block, only with an open hand. So again, it comes from the bottom and out on the side. The other hand just pulls back like always. Okay, right here. And that is your ridge hand block. So let me show you one more view of that. Blocking hand is on the bottom, facing downward. The other hand's on the top. It's going to come up and out right in here, with a nice bent elbow and again a nice straight wrist here as well. And that is your ridge hand block. Those are our new moves, our new hand techniques that we're going to be using at the In Wha 2 level and in the In Wha 2 form. I hope you enjoyed learning those.